Hey, Attorney Todd Hollis here. Great race going on in Allegheny County, Court of Common Pleas judge. 40 potential candidates and only 9 seats. I got 3 of the hottest candidates here today right now to introduce themselves and their platforms to you. Stay tuned. Hi, this is Attorney Todd Hollis. Welcome to another episode of Civil Action. Well, if you're not paying attention, there's a big race going on right now in Allegheny County, Court of Common Pleas. We've got, I believe, 40 plus potential candidates and 9 seats for the Court of Common Pleas judge here in Allegheny County. Well, on my show here right now, I've got 3 candidates who are going to introduce themselves and their platforms to explain why you should vote for them for Court of Common Pleas judge. Candidates, welcome. How are you?
Fantastic. How are you?
Oh man, I can't tell you how much and how excited I am, to see this race. And there's a small caveat in this show that I have not had in any of the other previous shows, is that each and every one of you guys here today, including myself, are graduates of Duquesne University School of Law.
All right.
Did you guys know that?
No.
Did not.
Yeah. Yes. We are all graduates of the Duquesne University School of Law. So I wanted to make sure that I got that out there before we got into the show. But, the constituents for this race obviously are not here to listen to me jabber and gibber. I'm hoping that I can get each and every one of you guys to introduce yourselves and your platforms, just to tell us a little bit about you. I'm going to ask Mr. Porter, I see you in my upper right, left-hand corner, to introduce yourself and your platform.
Thanks, Todd. My name's Chuck Porter. I'm an attorney who has practiced for over 35 years. I've appeared in every division of our Commonwealth at some point over my career. I've also served as a judicial law clerk for 3 different common pleas court judges. I also have served on my zoning board in my community for over 20 years. I think I have the greatest breadth of experience of anybody running. I think my reputation is I am a fair and tough advocate in any case I have. I fight hard for my clients. I fight fairly. If I was on the bench, I would treat everybody with respect as I do my adversaries when I fight with them now. I don't think anybody has the level of experience that I have. And I think we truly need people on the bench who know how to try cases and have tried cases. And I believe I would be the perfect candidate for this job. Thank you.
Well, I've known you for 20 plus years, and you acted as a mentor to me. And I can't tell you how much that meant, as a young attorney, coming into to the bar. So I certainly would support everything that you've just said. We have the Honorable Pauline Calabrese. How are you?
I am fine. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, listen, I can't thank you enough for being on my show. I know that you're the mayor of Penn Hills. Tell me a little bit about yourself and talk to us about your platform.
Well, thank you so much, Todd. First of all, as you say, there are so many candidates running because this is a historic time. 25% of the bench will be vacated. So I hope you will remember me by my qualifications, but also I am Calabrese for Common Pleas. It rhymes. So I do agree with Mr. Porter. He has many years. He's got 5 more years of experience than I do. I've been practicing for 30 years. I've practiced in all 4 divisions. I've done criminal jury trials. I've done civil trials. I served as an intern on the 3rd Circuit Court of Appeals, which is 1 step below the United States Supreme Court. I had the privilege to intern under Federal Judge Carlos Mansman. You can read about all my qualifications in my biography on my website. I'm here to tell you why I want to run for judge. It was a Monday morning and my phone rang. The voice on the other end was frantic. My client was crying because her baby was returned from a custody visit. The baby had been beaten and the marks on his body indicated he was beaten with a wooden kitchen spoon. She took the baby to Children's Hospital and the police were there, and the police said, we cannot file criminal charges because there's no admission, no eyewitness, and the baby cannot speak to tell us what happened. They said, you have to file a PFA. That's a protection from abuse action. I said, you don't even need me to go to the hearing with you. I said, what'll happen is you'll go down to court. The judge will realize that someone in that household does not know how to take care of a crying baby. They'll put services in and they'll give parenting classes. She said, no, I'm really afraid you have to go with me. I went down there, and what happened that day was absolutely stunning. We went in there and the judge would not admit the medical records. He said, these records are hearsay. I said, no, Your Honor, there's an exception to the hearsay rule. See, we want physicians to be in Children's Hospital and not stuck in a courtroom. We left that day without a PFA. That judge had never practiced in family division. That judge did not know the law, did not know his authority, and did not know the resources available to him. I walked out of that courtroom and I decided then and there that I was going to become a judge. See, what we do is we take new judges and we dump them into family division as if that's not an important division. So that's why I decided to run for judge. That day we left, and the other attorney and I worked it out so that we got resources into that household, but with no help from the judge. That's why I decided to run for a judge.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you so much. I see Miss Beth Sinatra Tarasi. How are you?
Good morning. How are you? Thank you very much. I'm Beth Tarasi-Sinatra. I'm running for the Court of Common Pleas. I have 30 years of experience. I have tried in all four divisions, but my main focus is in the civil division. I have litigated cases such as 3 Mile Island, Exxon Valdez. I had workers who were poisoned at the Bridgeville glass plant. I am in and out of court all the time on the civil side, although I do help clients in criminal and family if they call upon me. But I believe I'm the only plaintiff civil attorney who is running in this race. Now, a little bit about me. I attended the University of Pittsburgh on a full women's athletic basketball scholarship because of Title IX and because I work hard. Thereafter, I went to law school at night and I worked during the day. I worked for the toughest boss in the world, my father, Louis M. Tarasi Jr., who taught me well. He was very tough. Within 3 weeks of passing the bar, I was trying cases. I was a single mother. I had two sons who I raised, educated, while being a trial lawyer, having to travel to 3 Mile Island. I've practiced in Texas, Georgia, Ohio. I have one of the leading decisions on the admission of testimony, expert testimony in Ohio. And I do a lot of real estate, personal injury, medical malpractice, legal malpractice, those type of cases. And it's difficult. Recently, I was involved in an amicus brief with the Pennsylvania Association of Justice, where one of the judges in Allegheny County dismissed a case on causation. He believed the defendant's expert over the plaintiff's expert, and that really bothered me. It was in one of the Roundup cases. Well, I helped overturn that case in the Supreme Court, and the case came back down, and that has me very, very concerned. And I believe we need good judges. We need good judges in the civil division. Although whatever division that they put me in, that's fine. Also, I believe the only attorney who's AV preeminent rated, which is the highest rating. And you know about the ratings, Todd. I am in the best lawyers in America. I have earned those. I have worked very hard. I'm a very compassionate person, a very patient person, and I want to serve the people of Allegheny County. My slogan is Beth Tarasi-Sinatra, start spreading the news.
All right. That's awesome. That's awesome. I was going over the backgrounds for all three of you guys in preparation for this Zoom conference that we're having today. And I said, it is just remarkable how qualified, all of you are as trial lawyers. And I think that's a very important distinction. Not that being a trial lawyer couldn't make you a good judge, but I think there's just that additional added element of understanding, when you've actually, sat across, the table from another lawyer, when you've prepared, when you've had to present that case with all of the emotions and the energy, that's riding on that particular decision. I just really think, having that trial experience, just puts you in a unique place that I think you should be in, as a potential candidate for a Court of Common Pleas judge. Well, having said all that, I want to keep the show moving. I have a pretty large social media gathering, and in preparation for our meeting today, I asked 26 of my social media members to submit questions to me about what important issues that they believe they would like to present to a Court of Common Pleas judge to get their perspective on. So what I'd like to do, with your permission, of course, is I'd like you to tell me or give me a number 1 through 26, so that I can present that question to you. I'm going to give you an opportunity to respond to it, and then I'm going to ask the other two potential candidates to chime in if they choose, and then we'll work our way around the room if that's okay.
Great.
All right. Okay, so if that's okay, I'd like to ask you, Beth, to pick a number 1 through 26, and we'll get started.
Okay, 13.
13. I don't think 13 has ever been asked before.
That's my anniversary, February 13th.
Really? It's not Valentine's Day. That's one day before Valentine's Day.
Yeah, one day
right?
before. It was on a Friday, and it's my second marriage, and my sons wanted to go on the honeymoon. So we had to pick a long weekend. That was President's Weekend.
All right. Awesome. Okay. So Gary Garrison, he asks, correct knowledge on your rights and what to do when confronted by a police officer that is seemingly abusing his or her authority.
Wow. If a police officer is abusing their authority, you can't confront them. You have to back down. Unfortunately, otherwise you are going to be arrested and you're going to be in a situation. You're asking the question of me as an attorney or me getting picked up?
Well, I think they just want to know what your perspective is just as a person.
When an officer is coming on to me like that, I try to be nice to them because I know the consequences. I know that they're going to charge me with as much as a felony if they can. And even though I've done nothing wrong, that has been my experience, that the police officers have been overzealous and will attempt to charge people with whatever they can charge them with, and as much as they can. And so I am always polite personally, and I try to diffuse the situation. Now I am an attorney and I'm skilled in this area, and I feel terrible because the general public does not have the same experience and demeanor. I think something has to be done. These police officers have to be educated. We have to reprocess and reprogram the whole system because it's not right. Police officers should not be coming on like gangbusters and being so aggressive with our citizens.
Yeah, and I think that's probably where he was coming from, with the multitude of excessive force cases that we've seen, not just here in Pennsylvania, but nationally. People don't feel safe when they're having interactions with the police officers, and honestly, they're not sure what to do. So I appreciate your response.
It's awful,
Mr. Porter, Mayor Calabrese. Anything to add?
Yes, what I always advise my clients is to be respectful and polite, but do not give up your constitutional rights. We often see the cases where the police will stop a car and then they'll want to go search the car. And I tell people that you be very polite to the police officer. you treat them with respect, but you just say, with all due respect, I'm not going to give up my constitutional rights. And I think what's really has helped in the more recent times is the use of the video cameras, because anybody who's ever done criminal defense knows and recognizes that the police are going to try to take advantage of the situation if they suspect there's criminal activity. And even sometimes if they don't really have a basis to suspect, but are sort of guessing or speculating, sometimes sadly because of the communities that they are in. I have sort of sarcastically joked that it seems like every black male in Homewood doesn't stop at stop signs with law enforcement officers behind them. And at some point, I think you have to question the credibility of that type of testimony. And I think when you've practiced on both sides, you get a sense of when the officers are sort of taking advantage of the situation or whether they're being candid. And I think part of the experience of doing this job is that you anytime you're trying cases, you have to assess the credibility of the witnesses. And I think assessing credibility at some point, if you're a judge, obviously that's one of the most significant things you're going to do. But I think it's very important for clients to be polite and respectful, because if you don't, that's when the police become more aggressive. But again, the cameras, the video cameras, the police wearing cameras is the best thing, because now we have an actual depiction of what really happened and what was said or wasn't said. And I think that is going to help significantly in the future. But at the end of the day, you need to not give up your constitutional rights when you're in that situation.
Yeah, and I know you speak from a perspective where, you at one time worked for the district attorney's office, and then you've practiced on the defense bar for, forever. So, I
was a prosecutor for just about 2 years. I've been doing criminal defense for about over 33 and a half now, both state and federal. And I've actually won 6 federal cases, which might be a record in the modern times.
Absolutely. Mayor Calabrese.
Yes, so Todd, as you said, I am the mayor of Penn Hills, which is the largest municipality outside the city of Pittsburgh. I don't think some folks realize how large we are. We have close to 30 neighborhoods. We border the city. We border Oakmont all the way through to Plum and Monroeville. I will say to Mr. Garrison what I say to my children. First of all, as the mayor, we have the largest police force outside the city of Pittsburgh. Most of our police officers are very good police officers. However, like any other group, you're going to have good and bad. So I tell my kids, I have 5 children. I have 3 boys and 2 girls. 4 are in college and 1 is a senior in high school. Number 1, try to avoid the situation. Since we border, Chuck brought up Homewood. We border Homewood. I pass through Homewood all the time. I have never, in over 20 years, been stopped in Homewood. My sons, on the other hand, have been stopped in Homewood repeatedly. And I particularly tell them so Penn Hills is a large municipality and it's very diverse. So when my sons, when they were 16 or 17 years old, and they would say, hey, we're going into the city or whatever, I would say, especially when they were with their black friends, do not go through, cut around, don't go through the city. Because that's the reality, whether it should be or shouldn't be, they were getting pulled over at different rates. And I tell them, put your hands on the steering wheel, be polite. And if that police officer is out of line, then that needs to be reported. Police officers are not above the law. I respect the badge, but if they are out of line, that needs any action needs to be reported. But if you do not, the citizen will always lose. So you have to just, number 1, try to avoid the situation. And number 2, if you cannot, if through no fault of your own, you've been stopped, or even if you did something, if you went through a red light or whatever, you need to just pull over, be polite, and comply. But as Chuck said, do not give up your constitutional rights.
Yeah, we're definitely in difficult times. And I'm listening to your respective comments, regarding the use of cams and videos. And, it's unfortunate that even when we have those things, most times police officers are shielded, by qualified immunity. And, rarely, if anything ever happens to them, and they continue to do the same conduct. And, people just do not feel safe in their interactions with police officers. But I understand, and all your comments are well-deserved. Mayor Calabrese, pick a number 1 through 26.
I'll take number 15 for 200.
Number 15 for 200. I like that. All right. Tony Tomasi says, finding a way to make sure snitches are not identified to reduce the fear of reprisal in the community.
That's a huge social issue. We look at crimes that occur, and we often ask for people to come forward to give information. I wish I had the answer to that. I just don't.
That's fair. Okay. Anyone want to add or comment to that?
I will, if I might. As you know, Todd, because I know you've done criminal defense in the past, there's a large amount of the cases that involve, excuse me, either what your follower deems snitches, or what, if I'm representing them, cooperating witnesses. They're certainly essential for the system to work. That's just the reality of the world we're in. The biggest problem is how do you keep them safe? And the problem, I think, and I have the benefit of doing both federal and state work. The difference that I see is that in federal court, the federal authorities either have greater financial resources or have a better ability to protect or relocate those people if necessary. I think in state court, a lot of times we just don't have that same level of resources committed to that process. So if you have someone cooperate, oftentimes they're still in the same community in which they were asked to cooperate. And how do you keep them safe when they're in that community? It's very difficult. I think if you have the wherewithal to relocate, but then sometimes you get into the situation of, can you relocate an entire family? How do you do that? Where does the line draw? So as I said, in federal court, I've represented people who've cooperated many times in federal court. I've represented people who would never cooperate. And I always tell people I respect that decision because it's a personal decision that they have to make. But at the end of the day, if in federal court, the number of cooperators that ever have a problem is extremely small. And I think that's because the federal authorities seem to have a little more ability to enforce the retaliation against witnesses type things than we do in state court, and have a greater ability to relocate people. And I think unless we're willing to commit those resources to it in state court, the district attorney's office or the city police or the Penn Hills police, as the case may be, or the Allegheny County police, they don't have great resources allocated for those purposes. And maybe that's something we need to look into. How do we allocate more money? Because if you want to prosecute some of these cases and you need the cooperating witnesses to do so, then you damn well better figure out how to keep them safe.
Yeah, the easiest way to prevent somebody from coming to court is to tell them you want to use them as a witness. They block you, you lose your telephone number. I can't tell you how frustrating that is. Beth, anything you want to add to this?
Yes, I have actually have a family who it's a retail theft case, and at Sheetz they have cameras. Well, she drove her friends to Sheetz. They went in and they stole some items. They came out. They got her license plate, so they charged her with retail theft, and they're telling her she has to testify against the people in the car, and she really didn't know what was going on. She thought they ran in, purchased these items, and she's in a quandary right now because she said, I didn't know what was going on. Now I have to testify against them, and they're going to destroy me. They're going to probably, pop my tires, and we're negotiating with the police officer, and he's insistent that she testify in this case. And I'm trying to work away because otherwise, she's going to get harassed by these people and could be in trouble. It just doesn't make any sense. They have a camera, they have it, they have the people, they have their faces. I tell them, all she has to do is identify them and then get her out of the case.
Yeah.
They want her to testify. And that to me, it's not right.
Yeah, these are the battle scars that we as attorneys, routinely get when we take on these kind of cases.
Todd, can I just circle? Can I just circle back for one moment? Certainly, I understand.
Absolutely.
Certainly, I understand the resources available and the techniques. What I was referring to is when you have a party who is an eyewitness, how many people are willing to say, yes, I will relocate, or I'm willing to even have all the safety, the quote unquote safety measures, and still stay in the community. So the issue is having a person say, look, I'm willing to go to such extreme lengths when there is such risks involved. And that is something that is an individual personal decision. And as I say, that's very difficult for people to commit to that.
Yeah. The one thing that I love about this platform is that it gives us an opportunity to connect with real people. I know that during your respective campaigns, you're going to probably shake a lot of hands. You're going to do a whole lot of talking to a whole lot of people. But this is your opportunity right now to kind of connect with the people, who are potentially going to be voting on, for you, in the next couple of months. So, the reason why, I don't edit, these comments is because I really, really want you to get a full sense of what somebody is thinking, when they're coming to you, and this is a real issue. If you're asking me to testify, how likely are you going to keep me or my family member safe? So, there's certainly no right or wrong answer, but I thought all of your questions were really important, just based upon your backgrounds and your experiences and all that you bring to the table. So with that being said, Mr. Porter, I'm going to ask that you choose a number 1 through 26.
Pick my hockey number 5.
Hockey. You know what? I didn't know that you played hockey.
I mostly played deck hockey because I grew up in Etna. There wasn't much ice as a kid. So, as a small blue collar town, you did what you could to get some sporting activity. And that was the street or the deck for the longest time. 30 years.
Yeah, Pittsburgh is definitely a hockey town, ain't it?
It's become one. Yes, sir.
Amen. All right. So Josh Allenberg says establishing a right to counsel in civil defense cases.
In civil defense cases,
civil.
Of course, the right to counsel comes from the Constitution of the United States in the criminal division, and because we're talking about liberty interests. So when we're talking about civil, it's a harder concept, and I think that's where we need the aspect of pro bono work from the bar. I don't know that you can compel the right to counsel in a civil case, because when we're talking about property rather than liberty interest, it's certainly a different animal. And at the end of the day, the question is going to be who's going to bear the cost if we have to provide counsel in civil matters. So I think the answer there is essentially getting the Bar Association and the big firms, probably more particularly, to encourage their younger associates to provide pro bono work. And I know that's done a lot in family division, in the PFA arena. I've seen it in the past when I've been in family division for those kind of matters. It's probably very important. I'm not sure if it's available in the landlord-tenant arena, but I think that's certainly another area where we would certainly want to have pro bono counsel working to represent indigent people who were maybe going to be evicted, things of that nature. So I think it's really more incumbent rather than a constitutional right. I think it's sort of a situation where lawyers, especially, as I said, the big firm lawyers can really get experience for their younger lawyers being in a courtroom. The first day I was a lawyer, I was given a file to pick a jury at the district attorney's office, the very first day. And I remember, many times over the years going to or from court and seeing some young associate carrying his partner's briefcase. And I always thought, what a waste. Why don't you get this person in a courtroom where they can learn what it means to try a case? So I think, to me, that's the answer. I don't think we have the ability to have a constitutional right to representation in civil matters, but I think certainly we can impress upon the Bar Association that that's something that they should encourage for all their law firms. And not just, I don't want to just pick on the big firms, but they certainly have, more bodies available. But, I think probably all of us on this panel have done pro bono work at some point during our career. And I think it's an important thing for lawyers to do. But I think that's the answer to this question.
Yeah, I think, and before I get into you, Ms. Calabrese and Ms. Tarasi, I think what the layperson was saying is access to courts. Certainly you have a constitutional right to have an attorney, if you're charged criminally. But let's say you have a minor fender bender, someone hits your car, and the insurance company is kind of lowballing you, and you're forced to accept it because you don't have an attorney. You don't have somebody to go into court and weigh that issue. Now, is that issue equally important in your life? It certainly is. So yeah, I know that, right to counsel in criminal cases is constitutionally mandated, but not so much, in the other areas or the other aspects of our life. Mayor Calabrese or Ms. Tarasi, did either one of you want to chime in?
Sure. In my practice, I often find insurance. A lot of people don't realize when they get sued that their homeowners may cover it. Their landlord, they have tenants insurance that may cover it, and their automobile insurance may cover it. So I first try to help them discover whether they have any insurance available. Second, I agree with Chuck that we should have some sort of system, because a lot of these younger lawyers could learn to try cases. Sure. Arbitration is going to go, I believe it's going to go up to $50,000 now. And when you have these lower type cases, lower value cases, it would give a young lawyer an opportunity to try a case and to be, to know how to put evidence in, how to put a case together, how to defend a case. We're not getting that these days. Yeah. I none of these young lawyers have experience in trial because there's just no trials. Yeah. And whenever there is a trial, it's someone like Chuck or I who tries the case because of our experience. So I think it would be a wonderful program for our civil bar to get into and help these people. But if anybody has an issue with civil defense, call me. I'll try to work through, I'll try to work through it and help them and see if there is any insurance, or if I can refer them to neighborhood legal services, because sometimes they'll do civil defense, and there is no civil statute for defense work. But I'm happy to help people because I know it is a problem. And like you said, the little fender bender, they just, they'll just let that go. And insurance companies are not the working guy's friend. They're always trying to save. No, they're always trying to save a buck, and they're trying to, get you down to the minimum dollar. And it's tough because you get your car wrecked, and they only pay market value, and meanwhile you owe more on the car than the market value. It creates a tough situation.
Definitely. Mayor Calabrese, anything you want to add?
I sure do. So I know of a criminal defense attorney who has a fish on his wall this big. He says that when clients walk in there, they look at that and say, "Hey, did you catch that?" He says, "No." And they say, "Well, why is it on your wall?" And he said, because he wouldn't be up there if he'd have kept his mouth shut. So now is not the time to keep my mouth shut. I am very, very, very proud of the family bar. We are one of 4 divisions, and we are a trial division. We do custody trials. We do divorce trials. We actually do trials. So there are resources available. It's a civil division that's not criminal over there. And so there is some funding available, like we have Title IV attorneys. So regardless of income, if there's a child involved in support matters, we have PFA attorneys who are available. But I'm particularly proud of our bar because we, on a routine basis, volunteer. We have many volunteer attorneys, and I'm very proud to say that I won the 2018 Legal Excellence Award for my pro bono work. But the issue isn't necessarily or only how you have access to the court just by way of an attorney, because we have plenty of resources in family division. It gets into a very, very sad situation when you take a look at, for example, to file for custody. If you don't have the $300 or whatever it costs to file the custody complaint, your child doesn't get to see you. I think we need to re-examine fees as well, not just so that the fees are barring the access to the courthouse door. But I'm very proud of family division because we have many resources. We have GALs, guardian ad litems. Guardian ad litem, they are attorneys who represent children. So we have a lot of resources. So part of it is just educating people to know that the resources and the attorneys exist.
Yeah. I get a lot of calls, for, custody cases. And I myself, try not to try as many family division cases. But often, I hear individuals say, I don't have the money to pay the filing fees in family division. I don't have the money to pay an attorney $500 an hour to get a lawyer. Or I make too much money, to get an attorney for free. So yeah, I certainly understand the complexities and the issues and, all of that that's related to accessing, as you said, the courthouse door. Well, with that said in mind, I want to keep the show moving. This is the really important question, right? So social media gives us an opportunity to make this really, really cool connection, right? How many people would actually get an opportunity to see, Mr. Porter's handsome face, or to listen to the background of Mayor Calabrese, or, to have, one of the finest lawyers, in the civil division suggest, give me a call if you have, an issue, in civil cases. I mean, this social media connection is huge. There were times when I voted as a young man, and I just stepped into that poll booth, right? And I see all these levers. My mom said, well, you're a Democrat, so you vote democratically. Or if you're a Republican, you vote, the Republican Party. But social media gives us an opportunity to make a choice, right? A choice based upon what we see as our values in our potential candidates, which the three of you represent a well-diverse group. And I certainly believe all of you would make great candidates for the bench. But unfortunately, I am not the only one voting. So what I want to know is, why should a particular constituent vote for you for a Court of Common Pleas judge? And I'm going to start with you, Mr. Porter, and then we'll go to Mayor Calabrese, and then Ms. Tarasi, we're going to end with you. How about that?
That's fine.
Great.
Why should a candidate vote for me is the question?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Well, as I said in my introduction, I have been trying cases in one division or the other I'm in my 36th year of trying cases. Like Beth, I am also in the best lawyers in America. I've been in that since 2006 in the criminal defense arena. And it's not something that's by advertisement. It's by the respect and recognition of your peers, which I happen to think is extremely important. I've clerked for 3 different common pleas court judges: Judge David Sircone when he was in both criminal division and civil division, Judge David Cashman in criminal division, and finally Judge Paul Luddy in civil division. So I've had the ability to see how judges make decisions, to interact with them while they were making decisions, to help them resolve sticky legal issues as when Judge Ciccone had to suppress on a 3-defendant homicide because the warrant was terrible, or how Judge Luddy would negotiate out medical malpractice cases at conciliations. So I've had the ability to watch judges making decisions and interact with them for nearly 30 years. For over 35 years, excuse me, I've stood in front of that bench arguing for clients. And I've done that in courts throughout Western Pennsylvania, most every county surrounding Allegheny, federal district courts in Pittsburgh, Erie, Johnstown, the Northern District of Ohio, the Northern District of West Virginia. So I've had the ability to see many, many judges, how they interact, how they treat people, how they treat the parties, how they treat the lawyers. And I've also made decisions as a zoning hearing officer for over 2 decades, which is sort of would be analogous, I would suggest, to district judges making decisions on landlord-tenant type cases. So as I said in the beginning, I have a breadth of experience that nobody else has. And I think I have the proper temperament. I have the objectivity. I've been on both sides. I have the respect of my peers. My office now represents the district attorney's office when they get sued civilly, which means I'm in court now civilly representing the district attorney's office when on the day before I might be in fighting tooth and nail with them on a criminal case. I represent law enforcement officers when they get investigated because they respect me. They know if we're going to have a trial, I'm fighting with them tooth and nail, but I'm doing it fair and square in a way that they respect me and they will come to me for representation. I've tried cases many, many times. I understand what it is to try a case. If I was appointed tomorrow, Todd, I could go pick a jury and instruct a jury and do that. There's no learning curve with me because I've been doing this. And I think given my level of experience, my breadth of experience, my working with multiple judges, and again, when you appear in front of judges, as you know, you learn the judges who are not nice to the lawyers. You learn the judges who don't know how to make decisions necessarily. And I think by appearing in front of so many judges over so many years, I've learned how good judges do things. I've learned how they treat people with respect. For instance, Judge Hornak in federal district court, every single case, he greets the defendant. Mr. Smith, how are you today? He personalizes the people. And I can't think of something that's more important than that because these people are scared. They're frightened. They don't believe the system's going to give them a fair shake. When you have the person calling the balls and strikes, treating them with respect, it certainly has to give them some level of comfort and hope. I would think that anybody in a courtroom should be treated the way you would want one of your own family members to be treated if they were in that courtroom. I learned when I was in law school clerking for Bill Manifesto and Jack Dougherty, the 2 best criminal defense lawyers of their era, that you treated everybody in that courtroom with respect. That as a lawyer, we're part of the system, and as a judge, we're part of the system. We're no better or worse than anybody else in that courtroom, and you treat everybody how you would want to be treated. And if you do that, you're going to be successful. And I think I have those tools, I have the temperament, and I think with my level of experience, I would be the perfect candidate for this job. Thank you.
Thank you. Mayor Calabrese.
Thank you so much. Have you ever wondered who would play you in a movie? One of my cases was turned into a movie. It is the case of Losing Isaiah. It was starring Halle Berry, Jessica Lange, and Samuel L. Jackson. It's a composite. In the 1990s, crack cocaine hit many inner cities. It just ravaged families, neighborhoods, and communities, and Pittsburgh was no exception. At that time, I was court appointed to represent the mom in the famous Baby Byron case. That case was turned into a movie, as I said, but something I learned, the media at that time portrayed these drug-addicted moms as monsters. What was most frightening, though, is when I would see my clients, they were just like the girl next door, really. They were kind, they were funny, they were sensitive, but they also were ashamed and they were trapped in addiction. I learned from that time period in my life that addiction is a psychological and a medical condition to be treated. It's not a moral failure to be punished. You know, we take new judges and we put them into family division, as I said. There are 9 openings. This is historic. That's where new judges will go. Although I have practiced in all 4 divisions, after I had my children, I concentrated on family division. I don't need training. I will hit the ground running. I'm ready to go there. I'm honored to go there. If you want to know how someone's really going to behave, let's see what you've done. I think that with your audience, we probably fundamentally share the same values. I fundamentally believe that everybody is entitled to good education. I fundamentally believe that everybody is entitled to health care. I fundamentally believe that everybody is entitled to access to the courthouse door. So because of that, I served on the school board. I was a professor at Carleton University, where I taught such things as employment discrimination law. I taught at CCAC. I didn't teach at Carlo better because they paid more, the tuition was higher. I taught exactly the same at CCAC so that my students could get a quality education no matter where they were. I served on the board of Catholic Charities Free Healthcare Clinic. We didn't ask, did you have a religion or what your religion is? We said, hey, do you need medical care? Do you need dental care? I serve as a volunteer attorney for Neighborhood Legal Services. I've been doing that for about 20 years. I didn't know that I was going to be running for judge one day. As I have already said, I've won the Legal Excellence Award for my pro bono work. I am ready, willing and able to go forward. I would be honored to serve in family division. Many judges want to go there and they can't wait to run out. I can't wait to get in to make a difference in the lives of the children. But just to let you know, if you wonder who played me, you guessed it, Samuel L. Jackson. It was a composite, so I was hoping to be Halle Berry, but you know. But I sure would appreciate your support, Calabrese for Common Pleas.
Thank you. Miss Beth Tarasi-Sinatra.
Yes, Beth Tarasi-Sinatra. I, too, have extensive experience. I have 30 years trial experience. And in trial experience, I go before juries, non-jury, and judges, and I will be able to walk into court, pick a jury, and try a case immediately. Judge Connolly recently was elected to the court, and he was immediately assigned to the civil division. When Judge Beamer was elected to the court, he was assigned to the criminal division. Judge Halsey went to the family division, but within a week or two, they sent him over to the criminal division. I believe that the courts, that there are 9 positions open, and they're going to assign attorneys to the areas where they know that they have practiced. The civil division they do need lawyers, and I believe I'm the only one in the civil division who is running. I'm AV rated. Preeminent rated, that's something you earn. You don't buy, that's a blind rating. And I'm in the best lawyers in America. And I've worked in these courts all my life, and I know how these judges treat attorneys. And I know how scary it is for a plaintiff to go in there and to have a judge rumbling. Everybody should be treated with respect. The judges need to be workers. They need to be people who have gone throughout life and set themselves apart from other people because they want justice. They want to treat people with respect. They want the system to work. Now, I've been involved in the arbitration process, and I've served as a judge in arbitration. So I see how people bring their cases in and the burden of proof. I think it's very, very important that we elect judges who understand the burden of proof and understand how to put a case in. I also work for the Pennsylvania Association of Justice. And in the Pennsylvania Association of Justice, I'm on the amicus committee. And on the amicus committee, we take on the cases where the judge on the trial division made a mistake. And they make a mistake, and we work to overturn those mistakes. One example was a judge here in Allegheny County dismissed a case where 2 workers were greensmen all their lives. And later in life, they came down with cancer. Now, this judge in Allegheny County believed the plaintiff's I believe, the defendant's expert over the plaintiff's expert. He said, no, you can't contract cancer from these chemicals on the golf course. Well, they went up on appeal. I worked on the amicus brief, and guess what? We got them reversed because you can contract cancer. And that kind of decision, those are the decisions that these judges are making with these people's lives. We can't have that happen. We have to have judges who respect the process, know that those type of cases should go to a jury. Now, another thing is I volunteer for Operation Better Block. I am very involved in the housing district and housing for Pittsburgh. We have a housing issue and crisis in Pittsburgh, and we now have a housing court. And there is a need for a good judge and good judges in the housing court. I can fill that position immediately. I have volunteered and raised money for Kids Voice, Girls Hope for 25 years now. And I raised a little bit about my values. I raised my sons as a single mother. I educated both of them. My sons are grown now. And when my sons went out the front door, my parents came in the back. I have my parents living with me. They're 90 years old. I take good care of them because those are the Western Pennsylvania values that I grew up with and was raised with. I'm a trial lawyer, 30 years experience. Beth, Tarasi-Sinatra, start spreading the news. I would appreciate your vote.
Well, all of you have my vote. And I, again, I can't thank you enough for taking time out of your busy schedules. This is a historic race. In the 27 years that I have been practicing law, it's really crazy for me to even say that, 27 years. But in the 27 years that I've been practicing law, I don't think that I've ever seen, 40 people running for judge all at the same time and 9 potential openings. So this is definitely a historic race. All of you represented yourself well. All of your platforms show experience. They show candor. They show a great depth of knowledge, from which I believe you make excellent judges on our bench. The question that I guess the final question that I have for each and every one of you is, how can individuals who want to make a connection, maybe they want to donate to your campaign, maybe they want to ask questions about your platform, maybe they just want to reach out and ask you a question. How can they find you? And I'm going to start with you, Ms. Tarasi-Sinatra.
First of all, they can call my cell phone and 412-519-5404. I'm happy to discuss anything with anyone. Second, if you go to my website, www.sinatra-judge.com, or my campaign email, info@sinatra-judge.com. Thank you.
Thank you. Mayor Calabrese.
Yes, I am Pauline, Pauline, at Calabrese, Calabrese, the number 4, Common Pleas, COMMONPLEAS.com. And certainly feel free to reach out to me with my cell phone. That is 412-607-3739. Again, 412-607-3739. I'd be happy to talk with you. Calabrese for Common Pleas.
All right. Mr. Porter.
Thank you. My website is Chuck Porter for Judge. We also have a Facebook page with that same name, and I can always be reached on my cell phone as well. It's area code 412-818-2344. Chuck Porter for Judge. Thank you.
Well, folks, you've had an opportunity to talk to and connect with 3 of the heaviest hitters that we have in our Allegheny County bar. I certainly believe that they would all make, great candidates for judge here in Allegheny County. I suggest that you take their advice, give them a call, make a connection, because at some point, these are the individuals that are going to shape the future of Allegheny County. And with that being said, if you like this show and you want to see others, please don't hesitate to hit the subscribe button and hit a like and leave us a comment. This is Attorney Todd Hollis with Civil Action, and fighting for you is what I do. Thank you.